I am Mike
And I'm Molly.
with Virtuoso Builders here in San Antonio, Texas, and welcome to another edition of
Remodel Your Thinking. Today we're going to talk about the calendar, the timeline, which is essential for any remodeling project, and we're going to give you tips on how to keep that calendar so you can avoid delays, track your progress, and stay on schedule. The first tip we want to give you for keeping a calendar is to set a start date and an end date. So when you're doing this, also know that it needs to be fluid, but you set a start date and an end date and put in a buffer for delays. And delays are going to happen. They will happen, they will happen, they will happen. So plan for delays, weather delays, material shipment delays, they do happen. So that's a starting point. The second point is to schedule regular check-ins. So we call those progress meetings, and we generally have larger projects, so our progress meetings are every 2 weeks in person with our clients, and it's at their job site. So each time we're meeting, we're going over the schedule, going over everything that's happening then and in the next 2 weeks so that we can stay on our timeline, keep on that calendar, and then gauge it at that point. We also talk about materials, any type of delays, anything, so that really keeps us on track and keeps everything moving.
So another point to consider is that even though orders might be placed and you have an ETA on the orders, we still need to track them. So we will follow up with our vendors, track the orders, make sure they're coming in on time, because sometimes they don't. Maybe a truck was missed or was supposed to be on a truck and didn't get on a truck, or so even if the orders come in, might come in wrong. Even then, a subcontractor might not be able to make it on the day he said, a car might break down, a truck might break down. So those factors do come into play, which is another reason why that calendar needs to be fluid. So the fourth point that I want to bring up is planning for inspections. Pretty much all of our projects require some type of inspection, whether it's for the entire project or maybe just one part. But what you'll do is you'll have an inspection scheduled for a day, and that's the day that it's supposed to be, but it doesn't always work out that way. And it's not the inspector's fault. They are so overloaded and they just might not have been able to make it out that day. So then that would push it to the next day. And then sometimes they might find one or two things that they didn't like that they need to change. So you have to call out that trade, then have it re-inspected, and that pushes everything else back. So the calendar, although set, is fluid, and that's why you have to build in kind of those extra days for things like that.
The last and final tip we want to share with you to keep your calendar is change orders and approvals. So with change orders, by definition, those are any kind of a change outside of your scope of project, your original scope of project. So when we're putting a change order together, we also have to present it to our client. They have to read it, digest it, understand it. There's a lot of reasons for change orders. They could be homeowner driven, or they could be things that we found behind the drywall, under the floor, and discovered these things. So all of those things need to be discussed, which takes a little bit of time. And then once they're approved and paid for, then we can schedule them in. So you can see how it changes your timeline, it changes your calendar, and it might change it a little bit, and it might change it a bit. So just know that that may happen.
So to sum everything up, keeping a calendar is so important to a project. Now granted, it's going to be fluid, but it'll keep communication open between the client, blood pressure down, and this way everyone knows what's going on the project. So thank you so much for joining us for another edition of Remodel Your Thinking, and we hope to see you next time.